Kimi-K2.5 is out, very highly anticipated model, so I thought I'd share some of my first impressions and some of the early scores. So first of all, it came out on the rank 15th on the overall Arena, and this is the top ranking open source model right now, which is really cool, which is really exciting. My overall impressions, to summarize, is that if this model came out 6-8 months ago, I think it probably would have been state of the art. If we just look at the models that are above it, they all seem to be kind of September-ish. These are the kind of models that were coming out. So if it had come out, let's say 8 months ago, it would have been state of the art and everyone would be losing their minds. Right now, it seems to be, that ranking feels about right to me, that it's still performing really high. But if you look at some of the coding tasks, you'll see, we'll go through them, it still sometimes doesn't quite match up. But nevertheless, the results are really impressive. If we go look at the coding category, then we see Kimi-K2.5 ranking 7th, which is really good. We're still awaiting the scores for code, so that will be really interesting to see whether it's going to overtake some of the very good open source models. We've published this tweet, which is showing the different examples, which is quite nice to get the first gut check of how do these models perform. But I want to go a little bit deeper and go into some of the more advanced comparisons. So in here, what you can see, this is just my little vibe-coded way to store different prompts. But all it is, this is all on the code arena. And we can see the different URLs that you can also get if you generate. So this is nothing special in terms of, I don't have any proprietary access apart from what you can see here. So this is the generated by K2 model. So you can see it's like somewhat basic. And if we look at this one, this is 2.5. So we can see already big change in terms of the fidelity, in terms of the reflections and things like that. But if I go and look at some of the others, such as even like Gemini, this one is not loading. Yeah, I think Pro, yeah, you can see, oh, maybe this, oh yeah. So I think we've got the mist, which is quite strong. Then the quality is quite a bit up versus this was 2.5, this was 2, and this is the Gemini Pro. So I think that's a pretty good example of this kind of generation. So it's really good. It's a big jump from 2, but if we compare it to some of the leading models, it's maybe not completely there. Stonehenge is a good example as well. We've got this, which is the 2.5 in here, really quite nice generation. It looks a bit new. If you haven't seen it, there's few stones missing versus this. If we look at Minimax, let's say the 2.5 looks better. GLM, I think it's a little bit stuck. Oh yeah. But maybe GLM does look a little bit better than this, although it depends how careful you look. So the grass here is really good, but the structure is wrong. So it's kind of good and bad about both. Then if we keep going, we've got the Santorini. So this is K2 in here. We've got it's pretty nice. It's like missing few things. And you can see 2.5 is a big jump. So you can see reflection. Sun is kind of on the mountain, which is not great, but the generation is really high quality. I really like the sun and reflections. That seems to be like pretty nicely done. Yeah, if we compare it to Opus, for example, Opus did something weird here, to be honest. So kind of actually beat Opus, I guess, on this benchmark. Gemini 3 Flash, here's it's kind of missing the mountain. So I guess again, not too bad from Kimi on this occasion. Petra, so we've got this is by K2, so the previous version, and K2.5, you can see the higher quality generation, the reflections. It's really quite apparent how much better that is. But if you look at Gemini 3 Pro, you can see Gemini 3 Pro is a higher fidelity, there are more things going on. So like it's still not quite catching up to this kind of level. But yeah, if we compare, for example, to Sonnet 4.5, it already starts being debatable, like, is this really that far apart? So again, Sonnet came out in September last year. So if Kimi-K2.5 would have come out a few months earlier, like what our opinion would be like, I think the reaction might have been way, way stronger. So the competition is really pretty intense. So this is Aurora Borealis here. So I would say it's kind of interesting, but the lighting is like pretty weird. What it has done, I think oh yeah, I guess this one is also a little bit weird. I think I have seen, oh yeah, this is quite nice generation from GPT 5.2. So in here we can see the much more natural versus this. This doesn't really look like Northern Lights. So again, like I would say, it doesn't quite match up to the best generations, but certainly holds its own and a big jump from what we have seen previously in previous models from Moonshot AI. So yeah, this one was also quite good. So if you look at this, so this is meant to be Apollo 11. The quality is like pretty good, and it kind of looks like American flag-ish. Yeah, so this is from Kimi-K2.5. If we go to Opus, for example, so this is 4.5 thinking, then you can see versus this, right? So we've got the big differences, the sky in the background here, the reflections, the fidelity, the complexity. The American flag is like way, way higher fidelity. So you can certainly pretty easily tell them apart in terms of these kinds of more 3D generations. Then, yeah, this was an interesting one actually. So this is the Savannah, and I thought Kimi-K2 Turbo actually did a really amazing job here versus some of the other generations that I've seen. So like Codex was like a little bit weird, yeah, a little bit boxy. So yeah, interesting, doesn't always come out. So here JLM, I would say did maybe better than some of the others. Then if we go to some of the other generations, I've got quite a lot in here, so let me just skip through to some of the others. Yeah, so we've got, yeah, let me keep this. So yeah, so these are kind of more creative tasks for web development. So this is the Brutalist Manifesto. You can see the prompt here: break every rule, build something aggressively, intentionally ugly in a way that becomes beautiful. So we've got, this is the Kimi-K.2, this is 2.5. I would say that is kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe K2 adhered a little bit closer, but this is more beautiful, I would say, for sure. Then we've got Gemini 3 Pro, like really quite beautiful design here. And yeah, I think in this case, this 2.5 thinking again, I would say that feels like cheating. This is like quite clean design. So, but you can see the taste does come through, like compare this Gemini 3 Pro to this K2.5 thinking, like this is really really nice design, I would say, for me. We've got some model benchmarking data. So this is K2 showing here. So there's some Arena data. Not great, to be honest, kind of looks a little bit ugly. Oh yeah, 2.5 is not loading for some reason. Yeah, so this is, yeah, doesn't want to load. Okay, let's skip this one. Yeah, so this is some more data visualization. So K2, popularity of languages, and it's meant to be kind of the moving chart. This is K2.5. Like you can see, like instantly, this is actually usable generation. This is not really usable. So we kind of go from not usable to really quite nicely usable. Like I would use this in the visualization. And this is Opus 4.5 thinking. Like maybe there are some elements that are better, but it's not obvious that Opus is that much better here. I think maybe some smoothness and so on, but this is already becomes like a little bit more debatable, like which one is actually better, although Opus is quite nice. So some other tasks we've got here. So this is a kind of, the prompt here was Stars dashboard for developer starts. So in here, so this was K2, like really kind of boring, to be honest. And 2.5 thinking is already, like this looks really nice. And this is the Opus 4.5. And again, like you can debate which one is better. Like I think there's no debate which one is better, K2 or 2.5, but you can debate, do you like K2.5 versus Opus 4.5 here, I think quite reasonably. Yeah, I think this one didn't work out too well, so let's have a look. So this was the world in data interactive view of internet speed. So this was K2. Yeah, the 2.5 kind of did a bad job here, so doesn't really work. And this was Opus's attempt to kind of do different shapes. I tried this kind of prompt before, and surprisingly, I thought it's going to be easy, but yeah, it can't quite do the shapes. But yeah, Opus here, even though the result is not great, it's still by far better here. So maybe, yeah, let's try this. So this is impossible physics. So this is K2. I mean, does it really make sense? Oh, this is quite cool from 2.5 here. That's sort of quite fun idea. Yeah, and Opus, I think, did pretty good job here. This is, although it's kind of gone, so a little bit boring, but yeah, that was quite nice as well. So you can see we've got a bunch more different examples. Maybe we can have a quick look. So this is 2.5 versus 2. So this is 2.5. Really quite lovely design, I would say. Oh yeah, from 2. Oh, actually, yeah, 2 did really well. So that's nice. Yeah, and 2.5, I would say, did quite well as well. So yeah, so maybe not the most differentiating prompt. Yeah, so all in all, we're certainly at a point where a lot of the generations that we see is not completely obvious, especially when it comes to more kind of websites or things like that, where it's not completely obvious that open source models from new emerging labs are worse. So it's certainly the case from these tests, from my perspective, that we're at the point where these models can really generate something really impressive. And if Kimi-K2.5 was out 8 months ago, I think people would have been losing their minds about how good it is. I would still say that on harder tasks, you can see on the harder generations, we can still see that Gemini 3 Pro or GPT 5.2 or Opus 4.5 still are better. But it's certainly not the case that they're so much better that there's not even point of comparison. So the competition is really intensifying, and it will be really cool to see where we go next from here.